Hello everyone! So for today's video, I am going to show and explain my solution or my answer on our quiz number 1, which is the Athena's basic salary. We have here our given problem. Athena's basic salary is input through the keyboard, then the percentage of her dearness allowance and the house rent from the basic salary is input also through the keyboard. Create a flowchart and write a C program to calculate her gross salary. Okay, so we have here our sample output. The enter salary of Athena is 1,000. Enter the percentage of dearness allowance is 10%. Enter the percentage of house rent allowance is 30%. And the gross salary of Athena is 600 pesos. So I have here a flowchart that I created out of the problem, which is the Athena's basic salary. So we begin with the start, followed by enter the basic salary, then enter the percentage of dearness allowance, and enter the percentage of house rent allowance. So after we enter the basic salary, the dearness allowance percentage, and the house rent percentage, we're now going to process the data that we get. So we have here our formula or the solution. The gross salary is equal to basic salary minus the sum of the dearness allowance and house rent percentage multiplied by the basic salary over 100. So because we're talking about percentage, so to make it a whole number again, we're going to multiply it by 100. Then, print Athena's gross salary. And we're now going to stop the program. We're done with the problem, and so we're done with the flowchart. So let's start and let's proceed to our program. We will going to start our program with writing the header. So it will start with the hashtag, followed by include, then and standard input and output dot header. And we also have to include our standard library. And then in other compiler, it's needed to include the console input and output. After writing our header, we must not forget to write our main function. So how we're going to write our main function? By writing by and main, then the brackets. And we write the types of comments in creating a program.
Leaves will soon grow from the banners of trees, and all will be alright in time. From waves of the crown come the calmest of seas, and all will be alright in time. And wounds of the past will eventually heal. I said all will be alright in time, 'cause all of this comes with a love that is real. I said all will be alright in time. I said all will be alright.
So we have here our single line comment and the multi-line comment. So I am going to use the single line comment. The purpose of this program or code is to compute the gross salary of Athena and close. And we're going to write our program or our code.
You learn to forgive.
So we have the header or the heading, the main function, and the comments. Now we start our code. Writing our code, we must first specify it right with the data type that we're going to use is a float. Then our variable will be the basic salary. Basic attribution salary, then the percentage of the dearness allowance, and the percent of the house rent. So, and lastly, our gross salary.
I can think of all the time
Put semicolon.
me not to touch the light.
This part, allow me to use the multi-line comment.
I couldn't really justify how you even thought could be right. 'Cause everything we cherished is gone. And in the end, can you tell
What we have used here is the symbol line called as the underscore. So it is the attribution. Let's shorten our variables in our fast data type. So we're going to write float again. BS for basic salary, PD for percent dearness, and PHR for percent house rent. And lastly, GS for salary, and close it with a semicolon. So allow me to write the comment again. So the variable in the data type is given an equivalent to avoid the complexity in the program. The purpose of this is to make sure that everybody understand, and the purpose of our equivalent variable is to make it not into complex or difficult for us to understand.
try as hard as I might?
Let's have them here so that our compiler can easily read them. Let's give them their equivalent. Salary is right as BS, then the percent dearness, then the percent dearness that is equal to PD, then the percent house rent that is equal to PHR. Then lastly, our gross salary represented by GS. So that's it. So we're done specifying our variables. So let's now try to write our code. So since we're going to ask and enter the user about the basic salary of Athena, so let's put it this way. So print F, enter Athena's basic salary. So write it this way so it will be clear to you that this first line is referring or as you enter the basic salary of Athena. Going to close it. Going to ask you, we're going to input the salary through scanf function, so it's going to be written this way.
Leaves will soon grow from the banners of trees, and all will be alright.
And to make it fast, so let's copy this and paste. We're going to enter the percentage of her dearness allowance. Then the scanf rather will be changed to dearness allowance, which represented by the other copy paste for us to enter her percentage of house rent, which is denoted by the PHR. Lastly, as we already asked the user to enter the Athena's basic salary and the percentage of dearness allowance, and so we are done asking the percentage of the Athena's house rent. So we're going to print the result or the gross salary. To that, let's first create the formula and our step-by-step solution. So it will going to be written this way. PD is equal to basic salary multiplied by the percentage of her dearness allowance over 100. So because we're dealing about decimals, to make the decimal to a whole number, we just have to multiply it by 100. In this case, this is divided by 100. So next, we're going to find the percentage of Athena's house rent. So There are PHR represented over the percentage, so that is over 100. Then finally, we're going to calculate the gross salary. So the formula or the solution will be gross salary is equal to the basic salary minus the sum of the percentage of Athena's dearness allowance plus the percentage of Athena's house rent. So this is our input and step-by-step solution and getting the gross salary, or it could also written in the direct and a short formula. So like this one, the gross salary is equals to BS minus the multiplication multiplied by sum of the dearness allowance and the house rent allowance over 100. That's it. Now that we have the formula or the solution, we can now print the gross salary of Athena. The gross salary of Athena, and it's use a placeholder. Specify how many decimal since we're using float as our data type. So let's consider specifying decimal places. So we're going to use just 2 decimal places denoted by this 0.2. Then the placeholder or the float is the 2F. So originally, if we're not going to specify decimal print or the decimal number, we're just not going to write %F or the placeholder for float.
Try as hard as I might to flee the shadows of tonight. It haunts me and it makes me feel blue. But how can I try to hide when every breath and every
We put comma. So let's specify this. AGS represented gross salary. Close it using the semicolon. It's our program, so let's write return 0 and close. Okay, that's it. We're done with our program. Now, since we're already done with our program, let's try to run if this is correct or the program that we have created is correct. Alright, so we're mistake or our processor is there is something wrong since we write it in a capital letter. So our compiler is too sensitive that it will make an error of the difference of capitalization. So let's change it to a small hit, the capital letter. Let's try to build and run it again. Here are enter Athena's basic salary. So let's just use the sample output that was given us before. So the given was 1,000. And then enter the percentage of her dearness allowance. So we have the 10%. Then enter the percentage of her house rent allowance, which is from our sample output is 30%. And see if it's correct. Oh, there, the gross salary of Athena is 600 pesos. So we get it right. Let me just zoom our screen. Okay, so let's try another example. Let's build again and run our program. So how about if Athena's basic salary is 13,000 and the percentage of her dearness allowance is 30%? And the percentage of her house rent is 20%. Okay, so let's see. So she has the 6,500 pesos. So the gross salary of Athena is 6,500 pesos.
And all will be alright in time. No, you never really loved someone else. You learn to forgive.
make an error of the difference of capitalization. So let's change it to a small, the two capital letters. So let's try to build and run it again. So we've here, they enter Athena's basic salary. So let's just use the sample output that was given us before. So the given was 1,000, and then enter the percentage of her dearness allowance. So we have 10%. Then enter the percentage of her house rent allowance, which is from our sample output is 30%. And let's see if it's correct. Okay, the gross salary of Athena is 600 pesos. So we get it right. Okay, so let's try another example. Let's build again and run our program. So how about if Athena basic salary is 13,000 and the percentage of her dearness allowance is, so just let me zoom the cover. So just let me zoom the screen. Okay, there we go. So how about if Athena's basic salary is 13,000 and the percentage of her dearness allowance is 30% and the percentage of her house rent allowance is 20% out from her basic salary. So what would be her gross salary? So let's see. Okay, so she has the 500 pesos. The gross salary of Athena is 6,500 pesos.